Hello and welcome to the Malt Multiverse podcast. Because what you lack is two white guys having a podcast talking about white guy stuff.
Yay.
Beer.
Well, yeah, welcome to this second episode of Multiverse's own podcast, where we talk about two beers and two ideas. And the reason we use ideas as a rather broad term is, of course, because we each episode bring two a bit random either subjects or things to discuss while we are enjoying two craft brews while we're talking about it. So why don't you just open up?
Because today I have chosen both beers, and Mikkel doesn't know what beers they are. You have been given a very nicely package, and I think you should open it now.
It looks a little bit like a banana with a Dosebier attached.
And for all of our not Danish understanding people, Dosebier is a canned beer.
Yeah, but I think it's something of a Danish idiom. I think a Dosebier is like a cheap beer. It's a small. We also call it a grenade sometimes.
Yeah, like
Because
nothing like a hand grenade. That's specifically what's called a pilsner because they're green.
Yeah, and we chuck them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you used a lot of tape.
You don't have. I thought like when you see that, maybe I should bring a scissor or something like that.
I am an advanced user, so I think it's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Which one do I show first, or is it like a?
Well, I think you should show both of them.
Both of them.
Then try to guess what topic I would like to talk about.
Oh no. So we have the first beer is the iconic Limfjords Porter, which for some reason my blurriness will not allow. And then we have Mikler, a hazy IPA. If I it looks like this. For some reason, my blurriness is against it, but yeah.
Well, then I can show it a bit better.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Hop shop from Mikkeller and Limfjords Porter. I would say the beer I grew up on. So maybe we should just get into the first beer, and I think that should be the hop shop. Because that's the one which is nicest, coldest.
Okay.
Have a taste, and then you can maybe guess what I want to talk with you about in a minute.
At entirely random, I chose my Guinness glass for today, and I am very happy with the choice for Limfjords Porter later.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this is a rather green beer. We have two.
Smells quite herby.
Yeah, two Danish
Very
beers. We have Mikkeller, which is of course me, because Mikkel, and then we have the Limfjords Porter, which is Andres' home territory. So of course there's symbolism in that, but I think we're gonna talk about strong beers today, maybe. No.
We are. You are going to get a point for trying, an additional point for your analysis on why I chose them. I really like that narrative, but no, I actually want just 1 second. I'm going to share my screen and reveal what I want to talk with you about.
What was your first craft beer? Amazing.
And the reason why I think these two beers is very suitable for this topic is because they are what's called your everyday craft beer. Like you can get them in the supermarkets. They are very easy accessible, and I actually think that the Limfjords Porter might have been the first a bit more interesting special beer I've had besides Pilsners and Vienna Lagers, which is like just your, at least in Denmark, your cheap bottom shelf beers. But yeah, that would be the Limfjords Porter and Newcastle Brown Ale. Uh, and I think it's very interesting, but fun to, at least to just talk about what got you into craft beer. What was your first memory of something that was a bit more interesting?
Hmm.
And
Ma-
of, and maybe for a start, like when you are tasting a beer now, how would you do that, and how would do you think you did it the first time you tried it?
we of course getting maybe a little bit ahead of ourselves because of course we have to taste this beer first. But I like having the topic to think about while I drink a beer. It's
Exactly.
good.
That was me trying to be nice to you,
Yeah,
and I
because
actually I get a lot of like it's very fresh hoppiness in the nose, and I like that a lot.
it's really something I as soon as I smelled it, it smelled like craft beer, like a classic a classic homebrewed or something more like a broader craft beer because of the hoppiness of it. I think the fruitiness and the herbiness of the beer adds that craftiness to it because it can be a broad topic, what is a craft beer and what is a macro or meso beer, because it, these guys are quite they're quite big actually, Migler.
Yeah,
Uh,
they became corporate at like in sellout. Like when they started, they said we will never be bought by Carlsberg, which is the biggest brewery in Denmark. And I actually think Carlsberg owns, I think it's 40% of Mikkeller today.
yeah, so it's not really that. Uh, so it's what you think about, because this is what I would classify as a craft beer. But if you think talk about the culture, it could be a little more. I haven't even tasted it yet, so I'll just say cheers and let you talk for a minute.
Yeah. So like one of the reasons why I chose this is because it is a bit more interesting than the other things that you get in the supermarket, and I can see this being like an introduction for someone who is a bit curious in the supermarket, like, I want to try something else than my usual cheap beers,
Hmm. Yeah,
and so it's also like just this it just began a thunderstorm where I sit.
and
Sorry.
I have what's it called, a construction site right out my window, so it's
Yeah,
prime
I can hear that.
podcast recording.
Oh yes.
But
Um,
yeah,
but yeah. So I chose these two beers because they are somewhat still cheap, but they are a bit more interesting, and that's the whole theme. And I think this is a really nice way of getting into craft beer, and because there is a whole world about of craft beer, and as you can see on my beautiful slides. Mikkel, can you tell us a little bit about this these pictures I've chosen, if you remember?
yeah, and you wouldn't guess that I could remember it because this a lot of these are of course from Danish Beer Brewer Awards. I think
All
last
of
year,
them,
all of them.
and
Uh,
that is not even all of the beers we had that
no, no,
day.
no, no. I think I could remember. There was some I didn't really guess from that, but most of them I could have guessed. Yeah, and that's of course the an event for beer bloggers in Denmark where we vote and give awards to Danish breweries. And at this event were one of the primary things we did was a beer walk. But because these are hardcore beer bloggers, they of course couldn't wait for one place to another. There were sprinkled cans of beer from every brewery attending throughout the walk. So I think we tasted quite a bit of different beers, all from pastry stouts to classic IPAs to Italian pilsners, and I think it was
Yeah,
quite an event. Sour beer, of course, also, which were
yeah.
the
I think we
winning.
got through around 28 beers or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I chose a selection of pictures from that day because we got through a lot of different types of craft beers. All of the breweries which were nominated for all of the awards for the at the Beer Blogger Awards show. Everyone brought beer, and it was really fun. And I think it's really fun, especially when you talk with a brewer or just someone who's very passionate about the beers, know a lot about the beers. Of course, when you're interested in it, but there is a lot of community around craft beer.
Yeah, the event was really a turning point for I think both of us. Where I
Yeah,
personally haven't been to a big beer tasting event where you get to talk to the brewers before. So this set me up for some of the more wilder experiences we had going on further. But just talking to the brewer was also something that were a bit different because this wasn't a big show. It was more of a beer walk with the brewer. So you talked
yeah.
and got tips, and there was a lot of homebrewers also who brought something of their own that we got to taste.
Oh
And
yeah, I forgot that.
yeah, it was a bit random. Just at one point,
Yeah,
one of the guys said, "Hey, if you want to try something funny, I just brought." So yeah,
yeah. Shout out to the guy who brought a smoked IPA.
so that
But
was yeah.
kind of to get back to the question, Mikkel, what was your first craft beer, and do you remember why you tried it or bought it for that sake?
I think. Oh, that's a really good question. I don't think I could say other than I of course I bought a lot of Mikler in my time, and it was really just something that was bought for me because a lot of people just saw the name and thought about me and then gave me beers for my birthday. And before that, I weren't really into beer that much. I hadn't brewed before, so the interest in the hobby for me was really the hobby, were something that grew through people giving me beers as gifts, and then I thought, oh, I like that one, and suddenly began to see culture and personality in the different beers and breweries, and that was kind of what got the ball rolling for me.
Yeah. I actually remember the first beer I bought legally.
Okay.
Uh,
For
um,
international context, that you can buy beer from the age of 16 in Denmark, so it's
yeah,
a rather early.
yeah, and I remember because it was of course, my 16th birthday, and it was a cheap Vienna lager that tasted like shit. I would guess because it was the cheapest you could find. That was the first one I bought legally,
Okay.
and I am pretty sure, as I said earlier, that one Leafio's Porter was my one of the first beers that introduced me to a broader palette of beer. But as well with that, it was the what's it called? It was a brown ale, Newcastle brown ale, and I wouldn't say that's a craft beer, but of course it was a bit different than the cheap pilsner I was used to.
Hmm?
And then I can also remember the first beer I bought in a real craft beer store, and that was a beer that is kind of the catalyst for the whole craft beer movement in Denmark. Actually, it was the Trappist 10,
Hmm?
which when I talk with other people who's very much into craft beer, that is one of the reasons why they got into craft beer. These Belgian Trappist beers, uh, which is something for itself, and I bought it with my brother, and we went on a hike, and we wanted it as our lunch beer for that hike.
Love the idea of a lunch beer. I think also, I think you hit on something. The Danish like craft beer revolution started a little bit another in another place than in the US or maybe the UK, where the culture of beer might be a little bit different. I don't think I've the IPA rush were something in Denmark, but I think when talking to a lot of people, it's not that as a that beer
No,
style that pushed a lot of people into
yeah.
beer.
I actually think that it wasn't until many years later after I began drinking beer that I actually had my first IPA. It was it was not something that was usual where I lived or something that people drank. Of course, I grew up a long way from first mover Copenhagen and such.
Could
But
you would have to be
yeah,
in Greenland to be farther away from Copenhagen. So I think then yeah. So yeah,
as long as you can have beer.
I think one of the other beers that really was the beginning for me was the classic what beer from Odense, which were the Anarchist. You know, with
Oh,
the red label with Mark's head on it. I did not buy that for the beer. I bought it for the personality and the look of the can. So
oh
I
yeah.
could sit and be 18 and look cool with my Mark's
Oh
can.
yeah, look at me. I'm a young leftist leaning edgelord. I bought a Karl Marx beer. Ooh.
That was exactly my thought process. So yeah,
Uh,
I think that would be my best answer to this question,
yeah.
which is yeah.
Um, I might be biased, but I think that's a really nice reasoning on how to choose your first a bit more interesting beer when you are a child and want to drink something that isn't Tuborg Carlsberg.
I just identify with something, and I think that's also kind of how you know you know the punk part of beer
Punk
can
IPA? No.
oh, yeah, of course, yeah, brewdog, and you know the punk part of beer culture. I think that's really something that got a lot of people into beer or drinking beer or being
Yeah.
interested in craft beer. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think like one of the fun things about craft beer, or at least my entry to it, is that I did not have anyone in my family who knew anything about craft beer.
Hmm?
It was, I think, one of the biggest. reasons why I got more into craft beer is because my brother and I really enjoys listening to metal, and a big part of the metal community is drinking as dark beer as possible. So for the longest time, I just tried a lot of different very dark beers. Of course, I grew up with this, so that was easy for me. That Limfjordsporter is from Thisted Bryghus, which is or Thisted Brewery, and that's the brewery that the local brewery for where my dad grew up. So I think that's the closest to craft beer influence I've had.
Yeah.
Uh, and I wouldn't necessarily say that Thisted Brewery is a hardcore craft brewery.
No, I think it's falling into the meso category of brewery. Of course, it's a Danish brewery, and I don't think they export that much, but it's a brewery you find all over Denmark.
Yeah, and it's over 100 years old.
So yeah, of course. But to look at the time and say maybe that's a great segue into our second beer
Yeah.
uh, if you can catch up, of course.
Oh yeah, easily. I actually think this is a very pleasant beer to drink.
Yeah.
Uh, very easy drinking. It's also just 4.9%.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
very chuggable beer, and I think the consistency is quite it's quite silky. I think even though the color I think could be something that a lot of people would look a few times at before drinking. I think
yeah,
it's
it's a bit hazy.
yeah, but that's of course in a
But as we say when we need to get to the next one, where does the crabs live? At the bottom.
uh, maybe a part of this of this podcast is teaching people Danish jerking chants.
Oh
I,
yes.
I
Oh, that could be fun.
okay. I sent you a link, but before we jump into that link, I think we should taste and talk about Limfjordsporter because it's such a big part of our local beer culture.
Oh yeah,
So
our nice upcoming. Ah, well, usually I actually drink this directly from the bottle. Especially when it comes in this size. It also comes in half a liter, and rarely I think you can also find it in a 0.7 liter edition.
okay,
But
I have my Guinness glass here, and I have my Limfjordsporter, and I'll just have you look. Oh, I have a bit of. So
don't dilute the beer.
I would never. So it's not a very carbonized beer, but it's thick.
Yeah,
It has a lot of color, and it looks a little bit at home in a Guinness glass actually. Um,
yeah.
Splitting the G might be too easy in this one. It's already split.
Yeah. Also, I just really like how the beer doesn't even know who it is because on the label it says double brown stout, Limfjords porter.
Hmm.
Is it a stout? Is it a porter? But what is a stout and what is a porter? That could be something we talk about in another Ausnit.
What's the difference between a stout and a porter and a mild? Could you explain it to me? So,
Ah,
but yeah, it's also something called it's also close to our home. It's the Limfjord, as said in broken
yeah.
Viking tongue,
Oh
and
yes.
and
The Glufjord.
yeah, cheers.
Uh, I love this beer.
So you can see on my face how it shrivels up because um so just by tasting and giving it a whiff, the smoke is heavy in this beer. Um, they got it wouldn't be I wouldn't be amiss to say that it's it the malt is probably in this beer quite some time to get this color, this
Yeah.
smokiness out.
Yeah, I made a stout a while back where I was heavily inspired by this beer, and I wanted to use a lot of smoked malt. I did not reach this level of smokiness, and it was quite a smoky beer,
Yeah,
and I love that. But also when it comes to whiskey, I'm an Islay man.
mm.
Like give me a whiskey that tastes like licking the an ashtray or something like that.
And that's what I'm experiencing right now. When I when I breathe through my nose, it feels like smoke is coming out. So yeah, to the
Also,
viewer,
yeah,
Andre is has a lot of more dark beer influences than me. So for him, this is candy and his favorite beer, and for me,
yeah,
it's a little heavy for my taste. But I of course have to
yeah,
acknowledge that this is a
yeah,
titan in Danish beer industry.
yeah. But also, like another thing about it is that it's got licorice in it, so it's smoke and it's licorice,
Mm.
and a lot of dark malts. And this beer actually got some kind of cult status. Like there's a whole fan base around this beer, and it's somewhat cheap. It's easy accessible, uh, and some I wouldn't necessarily call. I would not call this a craft beer, but it was somewhat the slippery slope for me to get into craft beer. But
And
Mikkel,
it's just a last point for this. It's 7.9%, which is quite a heavy beer, and it still has the texture and clearness in the taste of
it's
of
quite smooth.
it's really smooth, and that's what kind of confuses me when I drink this beer. But it's yeah, it's a beer
Yeah,
found everywhere in Denmark, and it's my
yeah.
student association actually insisted on having this in the fridge at all
Uh,
times. So that's yeah. Okay.
Well, unfortunately, I moved to another city, and this is not one of the local breweries in this city, so I don't have it as much as I used to when I lived closer to Mikkel.
Okay.
But yeah, Mikkel, you sent me something that I need to what is it called?
Pull
Look
up.
at
Yeah.
pull
Um,
up.
Okay, so I brought you an article. It's not what the article what the article about is not really what I want to talk about. I want to talk
Oh,
about something else. But I brought you this because this is kind of like um, a taste of yeah, you can see what Andre has been searching about. So
I haven't even been searching for peanut butter, but today I was standing in the grocery store literally 1.5 hours ago and just thought, am I running out of peanut butter? Should I buy another batch of peanut butter?
yeah,
Oh,
surveillance. Yeah, what I really wanted to talk to you about today is a YouTube video by Tom Nicholas, which is a British YouTuber. I think we've talked about this briefly, but I would really like to go a little bit deeper on the subject because I think it's something that is it's a topic that interests both of us and something that I think you have a lot of strong opinions about.
yeah.
So
So I can see it's a very old article you actually found. This is an article from January in 2021 with the headline "Witherspoon moves to buy up property on the cheap amid COVID crisis.
Yes, and this is and the reason I brought you this article is actually just as a conversation starter, but it's not what I want to talk about entirely. But it's just that Weatherspoons is a pub chain in the U.S., not the U.S., the U.K. My bad, sorry England, and the other Isles.
Well, I
And
think it depends on whether or not you are acknowledging that the British lost the Civil War.
of course, but but to get back to the subject, I watched a YouTube video called "Witherspoon Inside Britain's Most Controversial Pub" by Tom Nicholas, and it's I'll just there's a quick blurb I wanna read out loud for you, and I think that's the
Yeah.
real conversation starter. But this is the article I sent you is kind of the um, a blip on what the general culture could or the general issue could be about. So, Weatherspoons, or simply Spoons to its friends, is a British institution with over 800 pubs in towns and cities across the country. It's not only a regular haunt for many Brits, but it has also made its way onto itineraries of many tourists too. But Weatherspoons is also controversial. It stands accused of imposing identical pub experiences on high street across the country, whilst putting smaller independent pubs out of business. And that's before we get into the company chairman, Tim Martin's view on Brexit and the European Union. And
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
yes, and then there's a bit of a and the video's plot is about him traveling 800 miles as one of the longest pub crawls in history, and how where he only gets to drink and eat at Weatherspoons and sleep at Weatherspoons across the UK, and he only uses the Weatherspoon book where all the Weatherspoons are different pubs or hotels and diners, which is also Weatherspoons owned. And
Like, firstly, I would really just want to attack his claim on a very longest pub crawl, because like 2 years ago I went on Interrail and that was pretty much just 1 month of pub crawl for me.
yeah,
Like, and that was throughout
but
Europe.
but did you stay? Did you stay at only pubs? Because that's really the premise of the video, and I think and I think just what I wanted to talk about is how Weatherspoons may be a McDonald'sification of pop culture and beer, but it's also an institution to many, as McDonald's could be for a lot of young Danish teens. But it's but I think it's also a tale of how beer culture evolves, because Weatherspoons were actually it was created during one of the more problematic times for beer culture in the UK, where the only the breweries owned the pubs, so there was only the possibility of serving a beer or buying beer from your local brewery. And as I sit here and drink a beer from my local brewery, I of course I like that, but it's also it could be a problem of monopolization. And Weatherspoons broke that issue by bringing in a lot of different and cheap craft beer, because they buy in bulk and distribute throughout the UK. So I think that's kind of what I wanted to discuss with you today, and during the course of 10 minutes, it's nearly not enough. But I think I have brought up a lot of what I wanted to discuss with you, and I wanted
Oh
to hear
yeah,
your
yeah. Like
thoughts.
there's a lot of threads
To catch
to
the
connect here. Yeah, like I could just spend the next 10 minutes just on a rant about beer
monopolies.
monopoly and just monopoly in general and anti-capitalist thoughts and so on and how it kills creativity and so on. Because I I I don't believe that big corporates who has close to monopoly in a market is going to make the most amazing development because why should they? They are earning a lot of money. It's very cheap because they can have a very huge effective production capacity and so on. And I think it's a shame that it can really kill the small independent brewers. Uh, at the same time, it's really fun to see when those small independent brewers are getting a lot of backing and then themselves become that big. They are actually just
Yeah,
becoming the monster they tried to be in opposition of. And I'm talking about especially you, Mikla, Cloudwater, Brewdog, and the list goes on.
yeah, and I think I think the reason I also wanted to talk to you about this is because the what a lot of craft brewery culture is about is individuality and the ability to choose and have new experiences. And I think that when it gets too big, it also loses that individuality and that edge, and you have to appeal to a broader audience to maximize shareholder value. And I think that's that's sad, but it's also a good thing that craft brewers or beer that's not just a pilsner can have its way on on the big scene instead of just being a small part of of culture.
I think you were a bit rude to the Pilsner. Like the craft Pilsner is it's going to be a thing.
I believe in
Like
it.
at least in the Danish craft beer community for the last 5 years we've been talking about the IPA hype is going to end soon and then it's going to be craft lager beer. So don't be rude towards the Pilsner.
I see your point. I haven't seen. Oh, I have seen one good a good answer to the call of craft pilsner, but which is of course Neue Pilsner.
Oh.
I think we need to. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just a topic that's a lot of my on my mind lately because we of course you know us, we are guys in our 20s, and one of the most important thoughts you can have as a guy in your 20s is we should open a bar
We should
and
open a bar. Let's call it games. It should
exactly.
be called games.
and, and I think for us it's also we should open a bar and a brewery, and
Yeah.
and I think this of course please watch the YouTube video to the audience. It's an amazing video talking about how beer culture changes and the issues of Brexit and a lot of more clever things that we can pronounce in English. But what I wanted to say is that the thing where the brewery owns the pub has been a problem earlier, where if the breweries get too big, they get ownership of what people get to drink in a local area. With
I
globalization,
actually have a really, really nice example of where it works.
yeah, okay. Let's see.
It's actually one of your local bars,
Oh yeah, of course.
and
Yeah,
one of my favorite bars. It's a bar called Basement Beer Bar, and the owner also has a very very small brewery called Why Not Brewing, and he makes I would say the best stouts in Denmark, and like that's world class beer.
yeah,
They are amazing, and he really likes to show variety in beers, and he enjoys beers a lot, of course, and tries to find very interesting beer from all over the world and imports that to, so it's not only his own beers at the bar. And I think that's a really nice ideal to go by. I don't think it's it's that was it black and white, so to
yeah,
say, that it's either you are a bar and you just get the you just purchase the beer, or it's like you are a brewery that owns a lot of pubs. I think those two ways are fine, but if they becomes the only options you have, it's a bit boring. Uh, Not that, of course, if you're just a bar that a craft beer bar that's very aware of trying to get a lot of interesting beer on tap, that's amazing. But I kind of really like the what is it called? This guy that he just has a passion project, and you can just feel it.
yeah. Also, why not bring
And
this? Is I would I would nearly not dare to call it a nano brewery. It's smaller than that. It's he brews nearly only for his local bar, and then some small membership beer.
Yeah, he usually brews out of his garage, and sometimes he borrows some larger equipment from one of my favorite breweries.
Yeah. So yeah, so I think I like the message of it can be both. It's not that bad that breweries owns pubs, but but it's the McDonald'sfication of cheap and fast culture. I think that's
Yeah,
probably the message.
of course, I just like going to a bar and sometimes I'm in the mood for cheap, boring beer, and sometimes I d- go after a craft beer bar. I think Witherspoon being a chain, it's okay unless, and I of course can read and hear that it's a problem, that they are pretty much working towards a pop monopoly in the UK, and I think that's sad
Yeah.
because that kills the
The,
variety. It kills the opportunity for small independent breweries to share their artwork.
I can't. There was an interview with the owner in the during the video, uh, and I think he said we're not in a monopoly. We only own like 30 to 40% of the market. Chill, and I think that's just insane for the British markets to be that big. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think my point with and we can maybe talk about it another time also, but it's just I think talking about when craft beer gets too big and too corporate. I think that's the
Yeah.
core of the issue. Yes.
Yeah, stay true to your DNA and your core values from when you started your project.
Mm,
Also, I can, of course, I'm mostly catching up with Danish breweries and looking into them, but I I'm getting a bit sad when I see they are trying to expand too much. They are going to slack on the quality just to please supermarkets' demand on quantity. Uh, and there's a lot of breweries that starts by being amazing and just have a really interesting product to share, and then they just lose it.
Mm.
Uh, of course, we need cheap mass-produced beers for when you just want to get shit-faced, but the whole hobby and culture about craft brewing depends on small independent people who has a passion project, who doesn't work towards being able to afford this a second car and a holiday home besides their house and something like. We need we need idealists who just works paycheck to paycheck to
But
to create the most amazing craft beer.
but that's also like what I see in it. I think that I think the issue is that when craft beer gets too popular, I think that's
Yeah,
that's the kind of it's like a circle where something is small and gets discovered and gets more and more popular, and then they do something, they expand some way, they get bought up in some way, and then they get so big that it hits like the mainstream or popular culture, and then then as craft brew community we say, ah, they are bad now, and then we go on to find another very
yeah,
small, and I think that's that circle of life in beer culture is both beautiful, but also it can be kind of problematic, because it's as soon as we support something to a point that they get big, we scoff and say that's no longer our culture, and that's kind of the old hipster culture, and what a lot of leftists do, I think, is just I want the smaller thing, and that's beautiful, but it's also something that limits us. Like I think I really liked. When I was in Copenhagen not that long ago, I went to Warpix, which is
owned by Mikla.
owned by Mikla, which is and they only serve Mikla beer. Um, I think I really liked the experience. I also went to a lot of independent places in Copenhagen, but I think the
Well,
what I wanted to say
to be
about it
fair,
is
Warpix actually brew their own beer on site that you can only purchase there.
mm,
So it actually kind of gets the small independent vibe, even though they are big corporate.
so they could maybe classify as a nano brewery within a massive brewery. I see that. I see that. Okay. I think that was what I for this episode had to say about the topic. I could structure it a lot better and talk a lot more about the sub genres and different thoughts. But do you have any last words on this for this episode?
Well, this just reminded me of an old episode of South Park where they get, I think it's yeah, it is pretty much just a joke about Walmart being big corporate and destroying your small independent, and they burn this very huge, big corporate supermarket. They destroy it, they burn it to the ground, and like, let's never do this again. Let's not support this big corporate. And then they go to the small corner shop, and everyone just buys their groceries there, and then they just expand, and then they just what's called clip to the next frame, and it's just like them again burning very huge supermarkets.
Mm.
And it's like, let's never do this again.
Yeah, and I think that's yeah, that's actually a good way to just yeah, that's the core of the issue, I think, for me, and
Yeah.
we don't have a
So
solution,
I
but
I think actually the lesson to be learned here, support small breweries, and when you get the feeling they are about to expand, stop purchasing. So they are just being kept small.
So so the business gets smaller. Yeah, I love this.
So like just give them a false hope about expanding, let them waste a lot of money, so they need to go back to
To the core.
producing quality over quantity. I think that's the lesson to be learned. Don't support craft beer small independents too much.
I'm speechless. I love that message. Okay. Maybe you should close down your screen share and we'll just round this episode off. So we talked a lot about craft beer today, and hope
I
we'll
think
do
that was
that
the
again
whole
tomorrow.
point about this podcast.
Yeah, and I hope we'll do that tomorrow also. So
Tomorrow?
2 days from now. Yeah, 3 days.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I was, have I forgotten something?
No, no.
Did we have an appointment?
We have too many. It could be every day, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
For if someone is interested in an insider baseball or basketball, what's the idiom in English? We are. This is our second episode of our pilot podcast, and we are launching our channel in 3 days. So that's why we are talking about both the structure of this podcast, but also that we get to talk a lot more about craft beer in a few days. So that's gonna be interesting.
And our fun passion projects, as we talked a lot about today, passion projects. It's nice. I don't feel like I'm ready for the launch. It's we're going to lack a lot of things, but I think that's going to be part of the charm.
We are never gonna be ready, and I think that's the message.
Yeah.
Often you are never ready, and that's okay because it's about the journey and not about having the perfect launch, but learning about how we do these videos and what makes them good and entertaining.
Yeah, and I just really love how that we made at this point 2 pilot episodes of this podcast before even we haven't even edited the first one. We haven't gotten any feedback from friends or something like that, or posted anything.
We still did it different this time though, which is kind of entertaining.
I can't remember how the format was the first time.
The first time we did it by clock and just sat there and were like, okay, 5 minutes we talk about this beer, then we use 10 minutes to this topic, then 5 minutes for this beer, and then 10 minutes for this topic. This episode, it just melded together and we just had a more fluid conversation. So that's also. I in the comments, tell us what did better, and we will stick to that.
No.
We will not. We don't listen. Cheers and
cheers.
And thank you for this episode of
This was
the podcast?
two beers and two beers and 2 ideas.
Yes. Cheers.
And hope you enjoyed our rants. If you have a topic that you think beer related topic, of course, you think could be interesting.
Or if you have
ideas,
or if you have a beer pop culture related topic, that's important. I think our multiverse thinks I think it needs to live in the dimensions of beer and pop culture. So if you have something where beer is a part of pop culture, please hit us up. I think that's really something we are looking out for.
Well, I think beer is pretty fucking popular in Denmark. Like, everyone is an alcoholic, so just drinking a beer and talking about it is pop culture in itself.
Of course. Well, thank you for this episode of 2 Beers and 2 Ideas. Cheers.
Cheers.